Hi, and welcome to our Jim2 webinar on dashboards. A common thing I hear when I talk to customers is that they don't know what they don't know. And as such, we'll be going right back to basics for each topic to make sure that you're all fully informed of each section. At the end of each session, we'll have a Q&A in which you can type any question you like into chat, and we'll either get back to you live or after the webinar. The information part of the webinar will also be uploaded to our website so you can rewatch if you wanted to go over something again, or you can let someone know that's not on today so they can see the info also. So let's start on today's topic, Jim2 and dashboards. In the last webinars, we took a look at how we can surface information through reports and lists. So today I wanted to show you how you can effectively view that information graphically within Jim2. The dashboard section of Jim2 is great for viewing and showing data in a way that's easy to understand. You can view information based on several parts of the program and its workflows. It can give you a view on daily tasks, as well as information on how the business has been performing over any amount of time. Towards the end of the webinar, there'll be a number of practical examples that you can use in your business. So I'll encourage you to follow along in your own instance of Jim2 if you have access to this section. Before we go too far into the presentation, I want to let you know about a few things about the basic controls of the dashboards. I'll create a new dashboard to start us off. Now, when you create a new dashboard, when you already have one, it will create the new dashboard as a new tab. So one option to take note of is the sort order number. This will allow you to position the tab where you'd like to see it. If you need to adjust this after you've created the dashboard, you can click Edit Dashboard to access the option again. There are also some basic controls to know for the widgets. In each widget, you can see three icons in the top right. The first is a refresh to ensure the information is up to date. The next is the editing button. This will allow you to set the widget up to report the information that you need. The third is a remove button. This will allow you to remove the widget from the dashboard if you need to. Just jump into a config. And in all widgets, you'll have the ability to choose the name of the widget, the refresh time, the type of chart, and a color palette. For today's webinar, I wanted to separate the widgets into two main categories, accounts and operations. Accounts widgets will have more of a financial aspect, and operations widgets will help show what work there is or is coming soon. Now, although I have 8 widgets on this screen, they're actually made from only 3 base widgets. One is the account watch widgets, the job widget, and the other is the debtor and creditor widget. It's only the different sets of information that I've selected that change the detail that's being shown. As you can see, I've set up the first 5 widgets to show different sets of information. The first two are showing our total income against our total cost of sales by watching header lines in my general ledger. The reason that they look a bit different is that one is showing the actual totals while the other is showing the MAT, or moving average total. I will explain more about MAT later on, but for now, you only need to know that it will average data over time to help smooth graphs out and find trends. The following three are comparing the income brought in to the cost of sales from peripherals, software, and monitors respectively. In fact, you can show a comparison between any lines in the general ledger and more. Let's take a look at the configuration of this widget to learn more. Account Watch is somewhat of a misleading name in that although it can watch your GL accounts, it can also do a lot more. You have the ability to watch or compare calculated accounts like gross, operating, or net profit. You can watch or compare all of these accounts over any period of time and can also filter based on branch, sub-branch, or even GL department. We'll look at this widget in a little more detail when we're creating some practical examples. Next, let's take a look at two of the bottom widgets on this dashboard. They're made from the Debtor and Creditor widget. These essential widgets will quickly and easily show you who owes you money and who you may owe money to. There are some of the more simple dashboards in terms of their configuration, but are powerful tools for your financial team. As you can see, there aren't a lot of options here. Simply choose if it will show the creditors or debtors, and then if you want to age by invoice date or due date. Once created though, you get a lot of information. The first thing we can see is that the widget has sorted all the debtors and creditors into the standard 30, 60, 90 periods. We can also see the number of and total invoices, any follow-ups recorded in Jim2, any unallocated credits, and any accounts that currently have a credit hold or are over their credit limit. Something I find particularly useful about this widget is the ability to drill down into the detail. By simply clicking on a column, we'll be presented with a list of invoices or purchase orders that are making up that list. You can even right-click on one in the list to go directly to the debtor or creditor record for that file. And as is customary for Jim2, when you've finished in that record and close it, it'll take you back to the dashboard. Don't forget to set the widget to go back to the chart view too. The Jobs widget can fall into the financial and operation category actually. It's designed to provide any information about jobs that you could want to see. I currently have this Jobs widget set to show any jobs invoiced in the last 2 quarters and also have it show the value of those jobs. If we click into its config, we can see some more options here too. So we have the financial periods on the left, and we also have a list of fields on the right. As you can see, I've set the state to invoiced only, but if we click it, we can see there's more options here. Interestingly, we can set the X and Y axis to show what we need to also. The X will allow you to set the period of time to display, and the Y will allow you to choose different measurements. I have this set one to the total value of the jobs. However, you can also set it to the count of the jobs or the labor that's been spent on them. There is also the ability to group by a field in the graph. This can help you see where jobs are being completed or by who. So as you can see, these widgets are very versatile and usable. I'll come back to these widgets in a bit to show you some more practical examples of how they can be used. But for now, let's take a look at some operational widgets. Again, there are 3 base widgets making up these 7 displays. We have the status widget, also the publish list count and publish list widgets. Starting with the status widget, we can instantly see exactly how many jobs are at each status. I've created a separate widget for both my service and sales jobs, as they'll require different attention from different people. You can click on any section of the graphs to find the list of information that's making up the segment. And of course, you can right click to go directly to the job. If we go into the config of this widget, we can find that it's actually also really versatile. If Jim2 has if a Jim2 object has a status, this widget can display it. Everything from jobs or quotes to return to vendor or return from customer, even stock transfers and adjustments. All of this can even be filtered to individuals to help organize a single person's work. Finally, if we take a look at both the publish list and publish list counts together, we'll find that these widgets allow you to display the count or the actual jobs within any published list. These widgets are only available in Jim2 version 4.4, so if you're able to upgrade, you'll have access to these soon. The configuration couldn't be more easy. We only need to select the type of list and then the list itself. The publish list widget will only require one more step of choosing the columns you wish to display. If we click on account, it will take us directly to the list and show the contents. And of course, we can right click in the publish list to go directly to the jobs. Something we've thought about a lot at App and Business is the security around dashboards, as it can display a lot of confidential and financial information. We recommend that you review your security settings before implementing any dashboards to make sure that only people you want to see the information can see the information. To set this, we can click Dashboard Security. You can set the security with security groups or individual users and have them apply to individual dashboards using the drop-down in the top right. This will give people access to the different dashboards. However, the actions that they take will be found in Tools and Security. If they have management access or view access, it will apply on the dashboards that you've set in the Dashboard Security section. Before we get to the practical examples, I wanted to show you how you can set the different widgets out to give you the outlay that you're looking for. I'll use the new dashboard I created earlier, and we'll add a few widgets. Now we can click Customize Layout. A window will appear that has some options in it, and we also get some new right-click options too. There are a lot of ways that you can organize the widgets, so I will show you probably the easiest way that I've found effective. We'll right-click each of the widgets, and in the size constraints, we'll select Free Sizing. Don't worry if it looks a little messy to start with, we'll soon have it cleaned up. Now, we can click and drag the widgets around to a position that we choose. Now, when we have them in a position that we like, we can also use the horizontal and vertical lines in between the widgets to resize. The menu that has appeared has some extra options also. These are slightly more advanced in their use, so we won't go over them today, but feel free to have a play around. I'll also have a link explaining these options more at the end of the webinar. To close the customization mode, simply close the window with the additional options. So, let's take a look at some practical examples that your business can use today, so long as your database has data to leverage. If we have any brand new clients in the webinar today, you can still set these up, but you may not have the comparison data available. Feel free to follow along with me in your own copy of Jim2 as well. I'll give a minute for anyone that wants to open their Jim2 and be ready to follow along. If you're unable to access this section, please speak to your Jim2 administrator to see if the dashboard section should be available to you. So, we'll create a new dashboard and add some new widgets to it. Now, I showed you several graphs earlier that showed the income versus COGS. I'll now show you how to make that, as well as explaining how to effectively use MAT. We'll jump into the configure. I'll first set the account I want to watch. I know the income account for my general ledger is account 40,000. So I'll select him. And then I'll set the widget to compare to a different account. This account will be GL line 50,000. I'll then set the report to show 5 months of data and the MAT to 5 months as well. And okay, we now have a graph that is showing us how much we've brought in as a total and comparing it to how much it cost us to perform those sales. We can change the type of graph if you prefer. I personally think that an area graph is great at showing this information. Actually, looking at this, there are some really big differences in between my months. I think I'd prefer to see an average to get a better indication of how my business is trending. If we untick actual, MAT will automatically be selected. Whoa, that's looking great for my business. But what's happened to the data? MAT, or again, moving average total, has taken the data that was being shown when we were looking at actuals and created an average based on them and the amount of months we specified. Although the graph I'm showing you today is relatively simple, MAT is really helpful if you have big swings between periods that you're measuring. By its design, it can give you an indication of trends within the data over time. You can find more information about MAT in the help file article called Account Watch Widget. I'll include it in the links at the end of the webinar. Let's set up another Account Watch widget, but this time we'll compare two accounts from the GL. Let's look at a calculated account. Let's see our gross profit compared to the same period last year. Add an Account Watch widget, configure, gross profit, same period last year. And there you have it. An easy an easy to read graph that compares the gross profit to the same periods last year. Let's add a couple widgets to help track our creditors and debtors. One for debtor, we'll add another for creditor. Really simple. We'll just rename this to debtor and ensure debtor is selected. And rename this one to creditor and have creditor selected. As you can see, it's really quick and easy to set up and instantly get information. How about we set up a widget for viewing the status of quotes? Add a status widget, configure, drop him down to quote. Actually, I might make this one a donut just for some variety. And we'll even set the totals to show on the chart. I can now see a total of how much dollar value is waiting in booked and how much has been sent. And again, we can drill in and see what's making up those figures. Maybe we'll make a job widget now. I'd like to see how many jobs have been invoiced in the current financial year. Add a job. We'll set the state to invoiced only. Set the financial period to 1. We'll click OK and then refresh. And yep, you guessed it, we can drill down from here too. For our last widgets, I want to show you how to create a publish list count and publish list. As I mentioned earlier, these are only available in 4.4, but can be really helpful for organizing your work. We'll start with the publish list count. All we need to do is tell the widget which list we want it to show. I'll choose a jobs list and let's see the overdue jobs. Actually, because it's overdue, I want to set the text color to red, really make it stand out. And there we go. Again, we can access this list by clicking it to see what's making up the number. Now for the published list. I think I'll make this another jobs list, but I want to see what jobs I need to do today. Then I need to choose some columns. Let's say job number, status, the customer name, and fault description. I can even adjust the columns in here so I can better see the information. As a final thought, imagine what your business can do if it created a separate dashboard for different teams or even individuals to have visibility on what's important to them. There is an old saying that if you cannot measure something, you cannot improve it. But I'd go further and say if the measurements aren't easy to access, you may not look for them at all. We sure covered a lot today. As you can see, dashboards really can provide a great set of quick data points for you to look over daily to help you choose your next job, to get a glance at the company's financials, and to see where the business's jobs are at. Today, we covered the different types of dashboards, the difference between MAT and actual totals, how to customize your dashboard, and a few practical examples of dashboards that you can use in your business. I would recommend that you set up a number of dashboards that make sense to your business, including income compared to cost of sales, as well as some built upon the published lists that you're using. Finally, I'd like to thank you for attending today. I'll leave some information on the screen about how you can get in touch with us, and I'll add some links to the chat about what we've talked about. Now, I'll introduce Steve, who will answer any questions you might have about dashboards.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming today. We've had a few questions in the background and excuse me, hopefully I'm coming through okay. I'm actually mobile today, so not in my usual location. If anyone has any questions, please fire away in the chat. And if we can't answer them, we'll certainly get back to you after the webinar is concluded.
I've just popped the links in there too, people.
Looks like everyone's not seeing any questions come through. So also, I guess it's worth reminding everyone that the webinars are posted to our website. So feel free if you think some of this information has been helpful. Yes, you can create multiple dashboards. So that was covered earlier on at the start of the webinar. So if you were to go, you'll see that Ash is showing the tabs across the top there.
Each time you create a new dashboard, it will create a new tab across the top.
The webinar link will be posted by the end of the day. It's normally done within an hour or so. Please, and obviously you can then pass it on to other staff that might be interested. Yeah, we can definitely go through security again. Do you want to just cover off security again, Ash?
Absolutely. So the security, there's two sorts of sides to it. The first is the security that allows the actions within the dashboard, that being if it's view only, or being able to manage the dashboards and the widgets. So you would assign this to the individual people that you wish to either just have view or have access to actually assign the widgets and whatnot. And then the other side is the dashboard security, which gives individuals or groups access to the individual dashboards. So with the combination of those two, we can restrict to view only particular dashboards or completely open up and manage everything. Hope that answers the question. Anything to add, Steve?
I think just quickly viewing some of the questions. Yes, so you could definitely set up a salesperson's or a personal dashboard. Once you are running 4.4, there's some really, some of the things we didn't show you is you can have lists that are based on email lists, for example. So I have my own personal dashboard that starts and shows every morning when I log in, and it gives me an unread count of emails on projects, on jobs, quotes, and just standard email lists. And it does save some list space. So, you have your standard list on the side where you can have 25 per object. So it's pretty much unlimited using the publish list function to have some of those additionals list counters as dashboard widgets. So I think do play with them. We have clients that are using them for sort of status tracking and workflow tracking. Some use them in the warehouse, some use them for the sales process. So again, as we potentially, well, most definitely there's screenshots, but as you get 4.4 and you get more accustomed to it, obviously reach out to support to get some help. Yes, thank you. Stock is going to be added, but I'm glad you've reminded us. So yeah, one of the objects that's not available at the moment within the published list is the stock list, is the stock object, but that is definitely on the development radar. Let me see what else we've got here.
There's one from Charlene that's asking, in the accounts widgets, can we compare 4 accounts in one graph? I don't think that's possible at the moment. It is designed to only compare the two different
only
accounts.
2 at the moment.
However, you can do header accounts and detail accounts. So if I go into one of these, let's say the peripherals one, I'm actually using individual detail lines on this one. So, and you can do a combination of that as well. So you could do a detail line compared to the header to see how much that's making up of the header, things like that.
And don't forget that we've got our user voice. So if you've got some specific scenarios that you'd like to relay through that, through those forums, as how you might use the 4 accounts in one graph, certainly, open to hearing about that. I'll just go back. So as far as the dashboards, yeah, you can assign them groups or individually. So you can, have a service team dashboard. And as far as using service, so one of the questions is, what about service? So I think what we're really talking about there is, can we separate sales and service jobs? And I think that was covered off earlier. So yes, the answer is you can do that in the standard widget, which Ash is showing you there now. And the power of the count widgets means essentially any list filter that you can create, you can turn into a list counter. So that's the beauty of how we've implemented the published list counters. And again, yes, 4.4 is required for that. And if you're running 4.4 and you're a little bit unclear about how to create the published list, when you create it, you don't have to have it viewable to you day to day. You can just have it sitting there in the background purely for the use from the dashboard. Just reach out to support. We'll certainly give you some help with that. No, there's no export on the widget, but it's again another good suggestion to add to. It'd be interesting to see what you're looking to do there. Is it the actual data or as an image? Not one I've come across before, but good question. And do I need to create a blank dashboard for a user and then grant access so they can modify it? Yeah, so you would. That's right. So yes, you'd create, depending on how you're approaching it, from a management perspective, you'd create let's say the service or the sales dashboard or the salesperson's dashboard, and then you'd give them access and perhaps only view access. So they really don't have, you're setting the standard of what you want them monitoring each day. But again, happy to talk around that in more detail via support. Ash, can you just, one of the questions that came up is where do the follow-ups in debtors and creditors come from? So if you go back to one of your, has it got any there that have actually got any follow-ups on them?
No, not at all.
Okay, so look, that's a fairly standard function within the debtors and creditors to be able to create a follow-up. So what we could probably do for you there is just send you the help articles to where that's done within Jim. A great question, no, and it's something that certainly I'd like to see happen as well, which is the ability to I guess create similar or duplicated dashboard. It's not currently possible. So again, thanks. I hope you guys are enjoying all of our webinars. Ash, I think you're doing a fantastic job, and it's been great for us to be able to go back to the start. And as we sort of progress throughout the series of webinars that are ongoing, we certainly will get into some more advanced topics. So I really appreciate everyone coming. There's been a really good load of people coming to these webinars, and do share the links to your staff if you think they're think of value. So thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Anthony.
you, everyone. And remember, any questions, you can always approach our support team or myself. So let me know.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.